loneliness, silence, anxiety. Too many men are carrying it alone. I'm Jack Starr, powerlifter, aerialist, personal trainer, and ex-private investigator. And this is The Other Side of Tough. We're rewriting manhood one conversation at a time. And today I have my good friend, the legendary Norris, aka the Pope, aka everybody's favorite uncle. He's a record holding power lifter and podcaster. And I'm so grateful to have you today, Norris. And it's funny because this has gone full circle. Is that the first time I've
Well,
ever been on
first and
a
foremost, thanks for
podcast?
having me. Hopefully, you can still hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. You there?
Hold on.
We're holding for Norris. Here we go.
Now we're cooking. There we go.
Okay, I got two of
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Now we're
You've
cooking.
doubled. You multiplied.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that first one. My alarm went off to remind me I'm supposed to be here at 5, and then it has completely cut me off. But first and foremost, thanks for having me, brother. And I'm
Of
glad you
course.
decided to do this, man. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, you really inspired it. Like I said, it's kind of come full circle. The first time I ever was on a podcast was on yours, and I was like, I like this. I like the conversations we're having, and so I had to have you as my first guest, and I'm happy to have you on the show. Um, the first question I wanted to ask you is how did you get into the fitness world? And that I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about the podcasting. I'm talking about the weightlifting. What age did you really start getting into that? What inspired it? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, to be honest, I had several fitness journeys. The first fitness journey, I decided I wanted to be a PT cop in our local community, and I was just like, I looked at the certifications for it, and I'm just like, I am way out of shape for this. So let me get myself in better shape so I can actually pass the qualifications. I got in tremendous shape. I went from like maybe 215, maybe 230 to 175.
Wow,
So yeah, I went way down there. I got into probably the best shape of my life. That didn't work out, and then but of course we start working two jobs, and we focus on other things in life. And
and you get
I
older. It's harder when you get older. That metabolism slows down a lot.
that and the federal security jobs, man, you are just working yourself to death,
Mm,
and you're really not focusing on your diet anymore. So I got to the point I was like 250. My wife told me go to the doctor, but of course, and get my annual checkup. And when I went, I was borderline diabetic. I had
mm.
almost stage two diabetes. I would have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You name it, I had it. And at
Wow.
that point, I decided I wanted to save my life. And from there, I found Kevin's group, and then I found my powerlifting community, and I just determined I wanted to try it out.
Awesome. Awesome. And your first competition was 2 years ago?
4 years ago in
Oh, four
Ocean
years
City,
ago.
Maryland, and I mean, I did not know what the heck was going on. All I knew was I needed a singlet and I needed to show up and be at a certain weight. I didn't know what kilo plates were at the time. Like I was telling one of my buddies, I was my first competition. I'm warming up in the back. I got two reds on. I don't know what the heck that means. I don't know, and I'm asking some other guys, is this heavy at the time? And they was like, heck yeah. And I'm repping it out for like 7 as a warm
Wow.
up. So I'm just like, I had no idea what was going on, but it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I know how unnerving that first powerlifting meet can be, but like the beautiful thing I think about powerlifting in the community is that anybody at any level will come and help you. I was my first powerlifting meet, I was having elite lifters taking time out of their warm-ups to help me get a bar, to help me, time out when I needed to start getting my last warm up in. And so it's a very collaborative community, and I absolutely love that about powerlifting. And I love that you're a part of it too. So that's awesome. Um, Now I have a question for you. This is about masculine. This podcast is about masculinity, about manhood, about what it means to be a man, and the crisis that we're going through as men. Do you think there is a crisis in masculinity, and what do you think it's attributed to? What is like the major point that you think is causing a crisis, if there is one, in masculinity? And if there's not, tell me why you think there's not one.
To be honest, I don't think it is. I think
Okay.
people are misconstruing what masculinity is these days. And so many people are afraid to really be open to other people's points of views and legitimate conversations. And then, especially in my community, how can you say what masculinity truly is when you had no role models to show you the right way to go? How can you say what a man supposed to be when your best friend had to teach you how to catch a football? So how can you really tell another man how he's supposed to govern his household when you don't even have your own household to govern? So I
Yeah.
don't think it's an issue with masculinity. I think it's an issue with people misconstruing what masculinity truly is.
Okay. And what do you think masculinity truly is?
I think masculinity is truly when you're actually kind to your community, when you're actually loving to your community, when you're out here being an advocate for all people in your community and not trying to be a bully. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how tall, what color they are, what gender they want to claim they may want to be, you're supposed to love everyone as if they're your brother or sister. If you can do that, I think you reach the level of true masculinity.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think kindness is a true statement of strength because it takes a lot more to be kind in this world. It takes a lot more of a man to be kind in this world than to be cruel, because cruelty, is a dime a dozen in this world. You see it every day on the internet, you see it through violence, you see it through just people's what words they say. And it's easy. It's really easy, especially with social media. But kindness, that's something that takes a lot of bravery these days. So I'm glad that you are giving back to your community and doing that. Going on that topic, we see a lot of men that aren't men. They're more like boys. Whether they expect their wife, they sit at home and they play video games while their wives do all the work. And on top of working and paying for them, these are actual cases that I've seen that they work, they pay for them, that they actually do the house chores too. And the guy's just sitting around at home playing video games, acting like a giant man child. And we're seeing a lot of this with younger people too. They act like toddlers instead of acting like men. Like violence is a very childish, toddler-like activity. When you don't get something you like, you strike someone instead of using your words and communicating and showing, poise in these situations when instead of being reactionary. How do you distinguish between a man and a boy? And this can be any age of person because you know 75-year-old men can still act like children.
Well, as far as the first question, the guy sitting at home playing his PS5 while the rest of us are going to legitimate jobs and doing the best we can do to advocate for our women and be a support system for them. I think that's a two-way problem. You have the new school woman who wants to be the alpha in the relationship, and she doesn't mind having that child at home that she can control.
Hmm.
She doesn't mind having that child that needs her for everything, so that way she can have some type of control mechanism on them. But as a man, you should not put yourself in that type of predicament. So that is a two-stage problem. You have these men out here who are, like you said, they are boys. They're not even to the point where they can't even fend for themselves, and they need their woman to do everything for them. But at the end of the day, some of these women truly enjoy having control over a man. And they don't mind taking that man in that they know cannot add anything to their life, but to be there for them, maybe emotionally. Every once in a while, he may give you some attention, and every once in a while, he might bring you over. Okay, but at the end of the day, is that truly the man you want? No, but you want to be in control of someone like they're your child. So I think that's a bigger problem with some of these women who want to be in control of a man.
So these women don't want men. They want children. They want boys.
They don't want man, they don't want masculinity. They want a child. They want
Mm.
a grown child that they can take advantage of or they can control. They know that this guy doesn't have finances. I used to work in apartment building back in the day as security, and I used to see this stuff every day. You see the guy who's the local D boy on the corner who really ain't got his finances together, staying with a young lady who is on Section 8, and every month with the little pharmaceutical money will dry up. We had to go up there and put this guy out, and by any means necessary. And then 2 weeks later, when the money's back, he's back in that apartment with that young lady, and it was a recycling door. So unfortunately, these women were picking men that they know they could control.
Yeah, yeah. And it is a very volatile mix. Is when women are encouraging these men to be children. They act like children in very volatile ways. And I see a lot of these body cam videos on YouTube, and they're always domestic calls. And you see the men are like absolute toddlers, just throwing fits over things that they could have, just handled if they had like a little bit of poise, a little bit of, if they could communicate better. But yeah, I mean, it is a volatile mix when you have these women that want grown children that they think that they can easily control, but then when they act like grown children and they're in grown men's body, it can cause a lot of physical harm. And we see an uptick in a lot of these like domestic violence cases, and it's terrible. Especially terrible when they have children and the children see this every day and then they pattern their future behavior on that.
I call that with moving with motion instead of strategy. And real life scenario, me and my wife was at Home Depot just a few days ago, and we saw a grown toddler, like you said, acting out because he couldn't get attention from his woman. So I guess they must be having some type of dispute. He snatches the card out of her hand and storms off like a baby, a big
Mhm.
baby.
A
And my
toddler.
wife was like, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Yes, I saw it, but that's none of our concern." You know what I mean? At the end of the day, this is these people's relationship. And I was like, you should see something like that and be thankful that you didn't marry a toddler. You married a man. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like I said, I govern my relationship. I govern my wife, but I cannot govern anyone else's relationship. And some of these women love to pick the toddler.
yeah,
They love the danger of picking this grown child that has no emotional stability because
yeah,
they're moving with emotions and not strategy.
yeah. And I think that one key thing you hit on is that they do act like toddlers, and what toddlers lack is accountability. And one thing that I find a major trait between men and boys is accountability. And I've gained that later in my life, and I really found that, I asked you about your physical fitness transformation and journey. I found that through weightlifting. I found my accountability because whatever weight I lifted wasn't on someone else. It wasn't because, oh, this person lifts more than me because their father was this person, or my skin color is this color, or whatever. It's just the weight you lift. And it doesn't matter how good of a coach you have. You can have the Phil Jackson of powerlifting. If you don't go in there and do the work, it's all on you, and that's what I loved about powerlifting. It kind of instilled that accountability and discipline. And I don't know if it did the same for you, or if it, kind of mirrors how you are as an individual.
Well, and powerlifting one just helped save my life, but I've always been a very disciplined person because I've seen the consequences of fronting up front in my own eyes of making bad choices. I had a lot of friends who made bad choices coming up, and I seen the consequences firsthand, and I just determined for myself in my best interest, it was always better to be stoic. It's always better to think about what you're going to do before you do it. It's always best to kind of sort of just sit down, take a beat, take a minute, think about your actions, consider what the consequences are going to be for those actions, and then determine whether or not you're going to react. That could save you 15 years in
Feel
a
like
20 in a what 6x6 sale with a roommate.
definitely.
If you just think about your actions before you commit to them.
100%. And I've therapy for me has helped me go through a lot of that because I'm not as reactionary anymore. Now because I can be a petty person. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone does me wrong, I can think of some pretty creative ways to get back at them, and it really does like push inside of me. Like I get the blood pressure up, and I'm like, oh, I should do this. But instead, what I do is I just play it out in my mind, and I play it out with the happy ending. Oh, I went ahead and showed them, got back at them. But then I look back at it and I was like, well, if I did that in real life, it wouldn't be a happy ending. Because whatever you do will always come back to you threefold. Whatever revenge you take is going to come back to you threefold. That person's, and you're just continuing the cycle. And sometimes you just got to walk away from a situation and just enjoy the revenge in your fantasy instead of real life. And that's at least how I manage that.
Hey man, one key word I think you mentioned, and I think every man should explore in his lifetime is some type of therapy,
Hmm.
because we don't do a good job of advocating for ourselves as far as we need help. We keep all our problems bottled in, and that's because we think that the world is going to judge us for expressing our true emotions. But every once in a while, if you're a man out here listening to this podcast, I would highly recommend you seek some type of therapy once a week, once a month, or find a good brotherhood circle as y'all talk about your problems openly and honestly without judgment.
Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic point. I do therapy once a week, and it really does let me go to a vulnerable place. And going on that theme, I don't think there's a lot of places for men to be vulnerable. You know, I listened to this sad quote the other day, and it's like some men, the only flowers that they ever get in life is at their funeral. The only appreciation, love that they're sent is at their funeral. And I don't know, like I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how men could do a better job of being there for men so they can open up. One thing that I really appreciate about you, Norris, is that when I was going through a tough time, you would check in on my mental health. You would just send that, Instagram message, hey, I'm just checking in on your mental health. And you don't know how much that meant to me. It might have been like a little act to you, but to me it meant the world to me. It's like people out there really do care. There are people that value your life and value what you do, and there's just a lot of lonely men out there, and we're not, I feel, as men, as a community, we're not doing enough to like support our brothers, and be there for each other.
Crazy thing is, I just did it yesterday, and I didn't do you because I knew I was going to see you today. So
Hmm.
I was like, but I send out the standard message just to check in because I got away from it for quite some time. And the reason I got away from it because, to be honest, my own personal journey of mental health was just all over the place for like a month or two, maybe 3 months. We didn't get paid at my job. You
Oh
know what I
man.
mean? So we had to go through that issue. It set a lot of financial things in the back burner. Right now, we're still going through some pay issues. So my own mental health was at risk. Be just thinking about money, and then I was just like, "Wait a minute, Norris, you forgot the path. You're supposed to be the checker. You're supposed to check in on people, no matter how bad you feeling on that particular moment. God has called you to do this, so go ahead and do the work." So I'm gonna get back to the work, but sometimes it is very difficult to be the person to be the
It is.
checker.
One thing, Morris, is that you can't fill other people's cups if your pitcher isn't filled. So you have to take the time to fill your pitcher, to, self care, to, be where you need to be mentally. And you need, do the same thing that you know, have other people do. Other people come to you. You should feel the same way that you can go to other people, because that's how it should be with the community. So if you're ever in that place, brother, I'm always here. I'm always an open ear for you to talk to.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Because, like I always tell my other half, who checks the checker? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And sometimes, as a person who is the checker, you're just like, man, right now, I ain't got it.
It's
And
hard
for,
to ask. I know, like, that's the dichotomy of a giving person, is that they're so reluctant to receive.
yeah, and I was just like, for a few months, I just didn't have it anymore. So
Mhm.
I had to realize that I had to get back to my own personal journey of reaching out to people and really figuring out how are they feeling. Because I'm just like, I'm the person that people tell their deepest, darkest secrets to for whatever reason. And I'm just like, hey, God has called you to do this, so you might as well just do the work.
Amen. Amen to that. Um, going on that theme, what's a piece of advice you'd offer a young man?
I will offer this piece of advice for young men right now, especially in the inner cities. I know the temptation for the fast and easy resources and money, and I know society has sold you the dream of the cars, the women, the jewelry. I know it's in your music. I know it's in your video games. I know it's on every TV show you watch. But I will encourage you to find other legal resources to live the life that you want to live. That's what I did. I just used two federal security jobs when I was younger, coming up, and I was able to still live the same lifestyle that the big boys were living, but I was able to do it legally. So I would encourage young men who do want to live that fast lifestyle to find a legal outcome to still make your money. But I know you want to live the dream of the women, the cars, the jewelry. But sometimes we got to find other means of doing it. And for those men who are out there who have emotional unstabilities or who are grown childs, it's time to grow up, brother. It's time to grow up. Your mama took care of you. You got this woman taking care of you. But at the end of the day, it's time for you to take care of you. It's time to be a man. It's time to grow up. Put your big boy pants on, get out here in the world, and figure it out for yourself.
Absolutely. Because there's no one, in the end, there's no one to blame but yourself, or there's no one to reward but yourself, or to give yourself flowers, when you accomplish something. So what's next for you, Norris? Where are you going? What's other than, you said you were going to go into bench championships coming up?
Yeah, I got national bench championships in March, which should be very interesting in Phoenix.
Okay.
You know what I mean? As a guy who's currently 46, going on 47, we'll see how, the old bones hold up. So far, so good. I'm looking forward to it. And it's always nice when they invite you.
That is. That's
It's
an honor.
it's cool to sign up for it, but it's always nice when they reach out to you and send you that message that you've been invited. And
Mhm.
that's something I was like, I never would have dreamed when I got into this sport that I'll be getting invited to one of these big boy competitions and be one. And like they said in the message, you are considered one of the best in the world. So that's a nice invitation right there. So I have no other choice but to follow through.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So how much are we benching?
I would like to get a personal best if possible on platform of 342 personal best on platform.
Wow.
I mean, I've done it before for a two repper, but in the powerlifting community, if you do it at the gym, it doesn't count.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so I would love to do it on a platform with two judges or more, and they give me all the commands and give me all the white lights. If I can pull that off, that would be a nice way to go out at 47 years old.
Oh, you're gonna retire after this?
I think at a certain point, it's not good to carry all this heavy mask around. I'm 242. I got a lot of walking to do at the regular job, walking
Mm,
around life. You're trying to sleep with all this on your heart. Sometimes you got to come down there and just realize it's better for your heart to be as low as possible.
okay, okay. You haven't like thought about competing at like a lower weight class and maybe like taking some records there?
And I just think I'm gonna figure
Record.
out what's best for long term health.
Okay.
I want to be that guy in my 70s or 80s, and I'm still able to get around pretty good. Like when me and the wife went to Home Depot, I can pick up the toilet without asking the dude in the back to help me out.
Hmm.
And I think for those men who cannot do that, I know that has to be so disheartening to them and unmasculating to them when you have to ask another man for his strength to help you out.
Yeah. I mean, what
So
I think is worse is the fact that there's like men our ages in mobility scooters now that are so obese, so overweight that, they're driving around in mobility scooters. They can't walk. They have all these heart problems. And yeah, it's just a sad state for men physically too. Like we went over like the emotional reasons why men are lacking, but physically, we do see that obesity problem. What do you think that is really pointed to, especially in America? Is it the food we eat? Is it just lack of discipline?
I think it's a combination of a few things. I know, yeah, the food sources are messed up in America. They're trying to poison us. We all can admit that. But at the end of the day, me and you currently live on two different sides of America, but America. And
Mhm.
we still look freaking awesome eating the same
Every-
food and using the same resources that everyone else have. So at the end of the day, you got to stop crying about the food. You got to stop crying about food deserts or whatever else you want to cry about. At the end of the day, society wants you to be comfortable. Society wants you to be on these medications.
Mm,
Society wants you to be not completely on death door, but we want to give you the medications to keep you alive just a little longer so we can charge you more. Now you can either go down that path or you can go down the path of physical fitness where
mhm.
you are sustaining your own life. That you are the motivation. Like you already said, we're in our upper 40s and look better than some of these guys in their 20s. That is shameful.
I know.
That is shameful.
Yeah.
And I have people that are surround me and my family that's really going through a lot of issues because of obesity. So
Hmm.
you can either fight the good fight yourself, or you can blame the world and say it's fat phobic and all the other terms you want to use. But at the end of the day, fitness and sustaining your life is up to you, and no one's coming to save you.
That's 100% the truth. And I don't know if you hear this a lot from especially people that are close to you, like family members and stuff, but whenever, they talk about it, they always give you slight shade by saying, "Oh, it would be nice if I could. It would be nice if I had that. It would be nice." And it's like, wait, you don't know all the turmoil that I've went through just in the year. You know what I'm saying? It may be a lot different from what you're going through, but we all go through it, and that's never an excuse. So it would be nice, like it should be nice. You know what I'm saying? Like you should be doing that stuff. It's not if you could, it's if you do it. You need to do it.
Funny story. I just now a new guy, a regular employee guy, just now came in my job, former Marine guy, and he's in total awesome shape. And people always make fun of me and him because we're the only legitimately two people in there in awesome shape. And they always
Mhm.
say, hey Johnson, there go your workout buddy right there. And I just laugh and giggle. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be that me and this guy are the only two people that's in awesome shape, and we're in the business of keeping
Security.
people safe.
Yeah.
We're in the business of you got to run to the fight, and
uh,
you got the spare donut around your waist, And me and this one guy are the only two people in this building that's in completely awesome shape. That is a tragedy. That's so shameful that people have to make fun of me and this guy than embracing the lifestyle.
I
Uh,
know. It's the norm. Like obesity is the norm. It's crazy. I saw this circus picture on the internet from like the 1910s of a fat man, and it just looked like your regular person at Walmart during the.
Yes, yes. So back in the good day,
All that
you
changed over
were
time.
you were the circus freak. Unless it's way back in the day, if you were a king or something, then it was acceptable to be
Mm,
a total fat slob because that means you had power and wealth, or
mm,
what we call in the inner city the get money belly. So yeah,
yeah,
you got the get money belly, and you probably got your little IG model, but what is it going to do for you?
no, no. And like the major thing is just life expectancy. Being obese takes away 10 to 20 years from your life. And that's what I really try to, I always try to be empathetic, and I'm try to be kind to all my clients because I've been overweight before and I know. But I really try to emphasize the fact that what we're doing is we're saving their life just by moving daily, just by getting movement, just by eating better. You're adding years onto your life. And as men, I think it's a responsibility that we are as physically fit as possible, just for basic survival and protection. Especially if you love someone, if you have a child, if you have a wife, you want to be able to protect them, and you don't want to be at the mercy of whatever, you know.
I don't know about any other man on this universe, and I think I can. I think I heard Mitch Hooper say the same. It's to the point when you realize that you go places and you don't have to worry about your own safety. That's when you realize how strong you truly are. That you just go places and you don't even worry about what's going on in the world. You don't worry about the bad guy who may come in there because you know that you're physically capable of taking care of yourself. And I will recommend to every person in the world that you be physically capable of taking care of yourself, especially as you get older. Especially as you get older, because you don't want to rely on some of these nursing homes, and your family may or may not be there to help you out, but you want to rely on yourself.
Hmm.
And as two older guys who are absolutely fit, we're here to tell you it's possible to change your life around. Myself, I changed my life around in my 40s.
Me too. Yep.
Yeah, in my 40s, my early 40s, I realized that if I kept on going down this pathway of bad health, I was going to check out early. And
Absolutely.
sometimes you have to be honest with yourself and admit to yourself, it's up to me to be accountable for me. No one's going to help you with this journey. Sometimes you have to lock in mentally and be like, hey, you may even look at a YouTube video. You may be able to find a coach, but at the end of the day, you still got to be the one to show up.
Yep.
That coach is not going to come to your house and drag you out to bed. That YouTube guru is not going to come to your house and drag you out to bed. You still have to be strong enough mentally to do these things and be accountable to yourself.
100%. Now you're talking about YouTube gurus. I wanted to bring this up with you. Have you ever heard of this guy named King Azemi? I think his name is. He makes a lot of claims. He was like in special forces. It's all been proved BS. But there's a lot of these charlatans that are coming across as tough guys. And I feel like emotionally weak men looking for some kind of mentor are going towards these type of people. What do you think there? How well? What do you think the problem is that there is an influx of these fake gurus online that are peddling, snake oil instead of, going about things the real way?
Well, I think the problem is that the internet has made access to people sometimes too easy.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Sometimes the access is too easy, and sometimes the barrier to entry is not even your real knowledge base, but just what you look like physically. And maybe we should focus more on the knowledge thing, the person physical appearance. We had the Liver King guys, and we had the guys who were doing the masculinity boot camp. And I'm just like, if you need to really, really sign up for these things, or you feel like your life is heading in this direction, then unfortunately you just a sad, sad person.
Mm,
And I feel sorry for those people who do fall for these type of scams. But at the end of the day, Darwin was right. And sometimes we gotta leave those people down the evolutionary ladder and let them fall for the snake oil guy. And the people who are really out here doing the work, we
mm,
just gotta keep on doing the work. And hopefully we can break through and make these people realize you don't have to sign up for this boot camp. You don't have to eat these liver pills or testicles, whatever else this guy's selling. He's full of crap. He's
mm,
clearly on steroids. But until you've really realized that, you're gonna fall for it.
mhm,
I
mhm,
fell for it at one point in time. I used to support Remington James. I loved the guy for one point. I used to look at all his videos until someone came with a counterpoint. So therefore, I will recommend that people do their research. You look at that guy, and you also find someone who has a counterpoint to that guy, and do your own research of what's real and what's not, because you can easily fall for a scam. But at the end of the day, is it your fault? Is it the scammer fault? Who knows? But I would do my research before I believe in any of these things. But if you want to sign up for that masculinity boot camp, hey, me and Jack got one starting up next week.
I will take you $18,000 a week. I'll be
Hey man, I can use it.
well.
I can use 18 grand right now.
Yeah, I got some credit cards to pay off. Let's go ahead and take care of that right now.
Hey man, I'm an ex Navy SEAL.
I know. And that's the thing is that if you see a real Navy SEAL, you'll never know he's a Navy SEAL because he'll never talk about it. He'll never brag about it. He'll never tote it. And that's with real men in general. Real men, with their accomplishments, they're not going to be pushing it in front of everyone's face. They're not going to be like a peacock with, who they are, how tough they are. A tough person isn't the loudest person in the room. The person that you should watch out for all the time, they always say is the quietest person in the room.
My one of my, my guy Kevin, my
Mm-hmm.
trainer. If we really knew all the horrible things that Kevin had to do when he was across the wire, we would be terrified. He doesn't like to talk about those things because he's going through his own trauma because of the things he has had to do. And some of the guys I work with at my federal security job had to take lives in combat, and they don't like to talk about it because they really had to do some horrifying things for God and country. So that's how you really know the real guy
Yeah.
and the fake guy. The guy who really, really doesn't want to talk about what he had to do for God and country, that's the guy you know is the really tough guy. That guy will tell you I'm a former Navy SEAL, I'm ex-Delta Force, and I'm going to teach you how to be an alpha. You may want to be concerned about that guy, but hey, me and Jack got one starting up next week. We both were in Delta Force at the same time. Don't
Yeah.
ask for any proof. Don't ask for any evidence. That's drop off to 1800.
I love this. Let's do it. We can, we can do it. I'll fly out to your neck of the woods for it too.
Let's take these guys to the woods and spray them with water hoses and verbally abuse them, and then send them home and tell them they're alpha.
Have them run through the hood with a bunch of money. Uh, if they say,
That will be hilarious. That'd be hilarious.
oh man. But yeah, I think a real man doesn't like violence. A real man can commit violence, but a real man has usually seen it so much and been through it with their trauma and such that they hate it, that they don't like it, and they don't like discussing it, and they definitely don't discuss it with pride. They don't talk about killing someone when they had to do it with pride. It's something that labors on them. It's a weight. Luckily, I've never, had to kill anyone, and I would never want that weight on me. I would never brag, oh, I could like beat the shit out of someone or whatever, because I've been in fights, and you know what? They're never pretty for either party. Both people come out, even if you won the fight, both people come out feeling pretty bad about themselves in the end. At least a person with a conscience, I think, does.
The only time I think you should be capable of violence or to do violence to any individual is in protection of yourself or your family. If
100%.
it's not one of those two things,
Hmm.
violence should not even be on the menu.
To be the last.
Conversations should be on the menu.
Yeah.
Uh, Polite but stern conversations, yes. But violence for just violence sakes, yeah, that's emotionally. You're just emotionally compromised. You're like you said, you're a baby man.
Yeah.
You want to show your anger to the world because you're a baby man,
Yeah.
and you need to move out the way and let the real men do the work. And like me personally, I love it when I see my friends and I can give them a big hug.
Hmm.
And there's one of my guys who I see who's like one of my firearms instructor guy. Every time I see him, because he lost his wife, he was going through a bunch of emotional issues. Every time I see him, I give him a big hug because I truly know this guy is one bad day away
Hmm.
from doing some horrible things. So there's some people out there. And I had this debate on TikTok when they said men shouldn't hug other men. I'm like, the men I hug, you should be thankful. You should be
Yeah.
thankful.
I'm
You
telling
should be thankful I reach out and tell these guys I love them because
you. Yeah.
they need that.
With and that's like the going to the flowers thing is like I don't feel like men tell each other that they love each other. And it's like there always has to be a person who's like, oh no homo or whatever. It's like you can't express, like that you care about someone, that you have deep affection towards another man. Like that's a sign of weakness to me. I feel a strong man is able to express, genuine feelings to another man. And I think it's needed. Like I really, I mean, going back to what we're saying about like the male loneliness epidemic and stuff, and men kind of being islands here, and our community is dissolving. I think it's through genuine communication. There's all these like false things like you're talking about on social media, like the bling, like bitches and all that stuff. And we're not talking about the real issues.
Well, I blame, I mean, I unfortunately got to blame people environment for that type of stuff. Now, I see more conversations about having open dialogue. I see more conversations about therapy. I see more conversations about, being nonviolent and walking away. But unfortunately, these conversations are coming from guys in their upper 40s, almost knocking on 50s. And unfortunately, these young guys don't want to hear it. But what they don't realize, at one point in my life, I was you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was you. I was you. I made these
I was at,
mistakes.
I was so
And
lost. I was so lost.
yes,
Yeah. And I needed someone. Like I needed someone to be like, no, this isn't the way of men. I was learning how to be men by boys, instead of
yes.
men. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. To be honest, is that I want to, I'm getting conversations from everyone, and I'm saying everyone. I'm going to talk to women. I'm going to talk to people that have different genders. I'm going to talk to people in different relationships and stuff, because I think that we're not listening enough to each other. That we have these, presumed, identifications of people, and that they don't know anything about a man. What does a woman know about being a man? Well, maybe a woman knows a lot more, or at least she knows some stuff that we don't know about being a man from her point of view, and her what she sees in the man's world. And I think that we would benefit from that. Maybe we would be a little bit more kinder, and better people, better men in general.
And that's a good point, man. I think once you start having open dialogues with people, true open dialogue, you can come to a middle ground. Unfortunately, the last person who did try to have these type of open conversations was assassinated. So that is a concern when you just want to have a conversation and people, the baby man showed up and brought violence to open conversation.
Absolutely, and it doesn't matter what you think of that person's opinion, if you agree or disagree. If you disagree, have the conversation. Make your point. Make them look like a fool. But like violence, I see so many young people just resorting to it. And like I said, like we've been talking about, it's just like a toddler expression. It's just you're not using um, wisdom or poise or even empathy in a situation. Like when I get pissed off at someone, I've been trying to use empathy. I'm like, okay, you know what? That person cut me off. Maybe they're having a bad day. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I'm going to let that pass, and I'm just going to give them their space and let them drive by. instead of, getting my get back because they disrespected me. But I wish that, men wouldn't resort to violence to make a point or to end a conversation because we're losing a whole generation of youth to it.
Well, good luck, brother, on that front because I don't think things are going to change until the culture changes.
It's
I
that,
really believe that we need to figure out a way to change the culture.
yeah,
Once we figure out a way to change the culture of what is acceptable from manhood, then I think we can save a lot of lives. But until we can really penetrate the culture, I think we're still going to be losing lives
yeah.
because we're it's all over. You know what I mean? It's all like when I look around, like me and my coworker was discussing. When's the last time you seen a positive father who wasn't a buffoon in the household? And I was just like, man, I gotta go all the way back to the '90s almost. Like you got to go so far back where you don't even see a good father in the household any longer. So it's just, you know what I mean? We gotta just penetrate the
What
culture.
no father in the household? I mean, that's like there's not enough fathers. They don't even show up. They're not even bad fathers. They're not even there. They're out.
Yeah. So it's just like we just got to penetrate the culture and
Mhm.
make our men realize. It took me a long time to realize this too. And hey, man, you just can't chase everything. Maybe manhood should be settling down with one woman and governing your family. Maybe we need to push that into our music, our video games, our TV shows. Maybe we need to push that into the culture. But until we push that out there in the world, it's not going to fix itself.
I agree with you 100%. With that, what I'm going to do with each episode of this podcast with my guests is say one thing that I appreciate about that person. And everyone that I bring on, I have one thing that I appreciate specifically, even if they're my enemies, even if I bring my enemies on the podcast, I will have one. But one for you that I have for you is that you are one of the most kind, generous people that I know. And I know for a fact that you would give your shirt off your back for anyone. And it's proven through your actions, proven from you just like reaching out and just checking up on all your friends and being there. And I just want you to know that I really appreciate you. And I've gotten into this podcast thing because you inspired me and you gave me a voice on your podcast. So I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your generosity. And I'll say it here, I'll be a man. I love you.
Well, first and foremost, man, I think you should tell men you love them, and you
Mhm.
know I love you, brother. Even when you stopped through Vegas and we had a chance to chop it up with our beautiful ladies and have a good dinner, and I mean, I've had the honor to meet a lot of my online friends in person. Hopefully, I can meet more. But I truly, truly have generally love for you guys because you guys were a part of saving my life
Oh man, I love you.
and keep me accountable to the world of fitness on some type of level.
That's awesome.
So how can you not love someone who keeps you accountable?
Hell
And
yeah,
then hey, sometimes it's more than honest with you. How can you not love that person? And
100.
I think manhood should always embrace love of it outside of violence. And I would encourage men in closing to move with strategy. Think before you act. Sit down, think. Then think about the consequences. And if those consequences are not worth your reaction, go home. Because if you don't do those things, you will end up either in a box or a box for the rest of your life. You pick, but think before you act and move with strategy, not emotions.
That is absolutely beautiful. And you know what? That will end on that for today. Thank you so much, Norris. And I'm going to close out. That's it for today's episode of The Other Side of Tough. I'm Jack Starr reminding you that strength is found on the other side. Catch you next time. Thank you, brother. You have a great weekend.
Salute.